Hey everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Formers. How you guys doing? You know who it is. It's B, Monte Azul Cruz Seymour Sr. coming to you live. You know our co-host and founder, Sammy. He'll be joining us here momentarily. I hope you guys have had a great week. We're going to continue on with some of what we talked about last week. Let's bring Sammy on in here. Morning, brother. What's happening, Samuel?
What's up, bro? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, it's a rough night last night. My neck is just killing me. We don't know why. Neck and shoulders. I gotta pay more attention to what I'm doing when I'm doing it.
It's not that.
If you say I'm getting old, bro, I'm done with you.
Not that either.
What's that?
The monumentous struggle that your body has to go through to carry that fucking ginormous fucking battle axe, stegosaurus combo of a head, the pure sheer weight of the density of the skull mass. I mean, you can't ask. I mean, you need two spines, to be honest with you. You've overtaxed your spine.
Like, thank you for all your support.
Right. Scientific
crick.
Explanation there.
As if your head is any less massive.
Well, the problem with you is that with all the unhealthy habits you have, such as not taking a shit but once a month, you have overburdened your whole system. I mean, I think we need some benefit there. They're gonna pull when they do your autopsy. They're gonna be like, "It's a fucking miracle! Holy fuck! Let's get some specialists in here to explain this."
How did he live that long? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good this morning, man. I'm a little sleepy. Just because I don't know why. Got up to let my birds out, and my ducks are doing it. They're getting busy every day.
You could be having some little ducks.
The male duck be like, he'd be going into his little dance, and then the white duck just be looking at her, and I'm like, okay, you're about to do it. Weird.
Duck for Thanksgiving dinner?
I'm gonna try to get those eggs before they do anything.
I mean, I meant eating the duck.
I don't like eating duck. It's too greasy. It's too fatty.
Yeah, it is really fatty.
I don't like it.
I enjoy duck, but it has to be cooked correctly. I've had it both really good and really, really bad.
Good morning, Jess.
Hey, Jess, how you doing, sweetie? Duck daddy.
Yeah. And I gotta tackle this. You know what a cotton candy machine looks like?
Yep.
Well, the top of the coop on the inside looks like a cotton candy machine because either 1 million spiders or 10 million spiders have built a single nest up there.
Morning, Kayla. How you doing, babe?
Dude, I'm thinking about burning the whole coop down.
Can't handle them spiders?
Dude, first of all, I feel like I live in a version of Australia. Like out there in Wisconsin, you got the spider webs, and they're kind of like wispy, and they stick to you and they get all over the place if you walk through it.
Thanks, Kayla.
These spider webs are like wire.
Wow.
Like when you hit it, you feel it because it's like super tensile, right? And These guys, I knocked their spider webs now. They're right back up there by the evening, right in the same spot. They don't care. They're like, nope. And we're not talking about spiders I've ever seen. These are some weird ass spiders, man. I'm like,
I mean, you live in Missouri, bro. You gotta expect
dude. Like, I've seen a hornet. I got a hornet in a jar the size of my whole thumb. Which way? Ugh. The whole thumb. It's a hornet.
I'm so glad.
This big. I got a recluse spider, brown recluse spider, the size of my fucking hand.
Jesus Christ.
There's a horse fly the size of like 3 peanuts on the porch right now. Dude, it's so imagine the spider webs that it takes to do all that, right? It's so
I
on
don't
the
want
top
to
of their
imagine
coop on the inside, it's just a giant sheet of solid wall of that shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking about burning the $1,300 coop sitting in my backyard.
I mean, I would burn everything.
That's what
I'm not down with that.
All the trees.
I don't care if you guys call me a pussy. I am not down with insects, spiders, creepy crawlies, and all those things that make you go, ugh. Like,
That didn't sound right. I'm just gonna okay. So,
you know what?
What's going on here? It's not that kind of show.
I'm done with you, bro. I'm done with you. Hey, don't forget, you guys, just so you know, taco plates are for sale today. If you're interested, come through. It's pork carnitas, homemade refried beans and rice, salsa, and we even made homemade horchata today. Anytime after 1 p.m., starting at $10 a plate, 3 tacos.
What's it for? Why are you selling tacos?
We're actually, it's all going towards the wedding.
Bam! The
Bang,
wedding.
Bang, bang.
You know what? Maybe we should be talking about healthy relationships and what those look like, since we're both getting married in the next couple months here.
I don't even know what to say about a healthy relationship because I just do what I'm told.
I'll do all the talking.
Right. I do exactly what I'm told, and I'm grateful for it. Like that's it. Yes, tell me what to do. Yes, that's what I'll do.
Hey, we should probably talk about the lessons we've learned about healthy, unhealthy relationships.
Right.
There's plenty of that shit, right? Like there's been a lot of, I would consider growth, and I would estimate that by the temperature of my relationship at any given day. You know, like how well I'm doing. It is funny because even when I'm right, it doesn't matter, because if my partner thinks I'm wrong, I have to work on something there to figure that out, right? Like I can't just sit back and be like, oh, she'll figure it out. That never happens.
No.
That never happens. It's like, I don't know. We got Jess and Kayla. Would you guys like to hear like the male philosophy around healthy relationships? You can weigh in the chat. But
quite a few people.
Because what we were prepared to talk about is what it looks like to be in recovery. Maybe since we're both getting married, we could use some feedback on what it looks like to be in a good relationship.
I already told you, I do what I'm told.
Not all the time, and not very well at times. And just because you do it doesn't mean things are good. I mean,
I know it.
I don't know if our listeners would agree with that. Like, because there is so much inflection involved in having a healthy relationship, right? It's not just what you say and do. Trust me, because I'm standing there waiting to be told what to do. Now I go do it, come back, I'm still in the doghouse. What the fuck? What happened? And I literally been told, well, it changed.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
My socks still go in the same place where I said they went 10 years ago. Like, I don't change that much. Like, this is the way I do, but it's not. Look, I got you've seen my closet.
Yep.
Julie has the top rack of the hanging rack. It's all t-shirts. It's all shirts and t-shirts for her work and for every day. And we'll be in the store. She's like, no, I need more t-shirts. And I'll be like, but you have like 200.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, but some of them aren't any good anymore. What's the logical answer to that? Let's get rid of them.
Right.
Right. Okay. Maybe we should downsize that closet a little bit. So the inventory, so we can make room for new stuff. And then it goes from there. You can either be controlling, not being supportive, or introducing like negative energy into the middle of Ross while you're looking for your $4 shirt. Like now, It's a fucking dilemma. I mean, see, I think this is the classic turtle and rabbit story ever, right? Because as a guy, I would suggest that we have a single listening mode. When we detect a brewing problem, even if no one has said it is, we see it because we're like the protectors of our spaces, environments, and people. And so you might be talking about something just to be talking about. When you say some of your t-shirts don't work, I see a problem. Not a problem with you, but a problem. Okay, we have stuff around us that doesn't work. Why is it still in our midst? Let's get rid of it. Not only did I see a problem, I had a solution. Bam, like that. Like that's the stuff you step in.
I agree.
When you're a guy and we're just talking a casual conversation. Hey, yeah, I need some more t-shirts. You've got 400,000 t-shirts. And she's like, but like 7 million of those don't fit me anymore. And you're like, that's a problem because we still got all of those t-shirts that don't fit. It's just taking up space. Let's get it out of there. Let's burn it. Maybe we put it in the chicken coop when we burn the chicken coop down because we got spider web. And she's like, yeah, I don't like the spiders and I miss my family. And that's the other thing. We were just talking about t-shirts and how I stepped in some shit there trying to solve that problem. And next thing you know, I'm like, she's like, you always do this. You did this on September 4th in 2016 at 2 p.m. while I was watching my show, in my trash TV, and you did the same thing. Then you haven't changed at all.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know. Listen. I'm doing something wrong here, and I think it goes down to this single mode of how we've been conditioned to engage. Right. I think there's a lot of socialization here because we're supposed to protect everything, and that doesn't always mean like we're fighting bears and shit. It can, but it can also mean like we've been told to fix anything that's broken.
Common problem.
Right? But the problem is we have two tools in our listening bag. One is a sword and one is a hammer. And while they're talking, we're just trying to figure out, does she need me to build something or break something or kill something? Now we're trying to apply hammer and sword logic to t-shirts and closets.
Yeah. Kelly and I have become friends since it's been a long time, 6 years. And she said that was one of the biggest problems when we were together. It was one of the things that annoyed her most was that she would talk to me about a problem and I would come at her with solutions. She didn't want my solutions. She just wanted me to listen. That's all she had wanted. She just wanted to tell me what her problem was and for me to listen to it and not try to solve her fucking problem. She'd figure it out on her own. She just needed me to hear what her problem was, right?
Yeah.
And that was hard for me to accept, right? Because she was right. Like every time anybody comes to me and this is going on, my first instinct is, well, why don't let's talk about maybe this will help fix that. And sometimes people aren't calling you and talking to you, partners or whatever, about fixing their problem. Sometimes they're just talking to you about the problem. You know what I mean? And that was hard for me to understand.
It's so hard to just sit there. Have you seen that video where that guy's talking to this lady and she's got a nail sticking out of her forehead?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that logic doesn't make any freaking sense, right? Like we're just supposed to sit there. I do that with my 4-year-old because they got to learn, and it's so hard to apply that knowledge. I don't get it. I mean, sometimes the solution seems very obvious
to us.
I mean,
to us.
I think.
But that's our solution.
How many people are in the world, including women? it's 6 billion, 7 billion.
Yeah, almost 8 billion.
I'm gonna say
Thank you, Linda.
7.999999999 million would say it's obvious. So Linda is saying yes, women need to vent. I get it, and I've gotten it in my relationship where my girl's letting me know she's venting. And I'm sitting there basically hogtied I hogtie myself to the seat I'm in, and then I put one of those sex balls in my mouth that straps to the back of my head to force myself from saying anything. But I'm in the chair listening, but I'm like, let me out.
Just struggling not to be like, here's your.
I've got something to say.
I'm just gonna shut up.
It's not so easy. It's not
No.
so easy.
No.
It's not so easy, man. It's just like, let me help you. I can help you. I can make this super easy for you. Like, let me do it. Like, I want to be there for you because I figure like we can knock this problem. Because and I agree with this statement I heard recently. The reason we want to solve problems is because we want peace and quiet. We figure once the problem is done, we go back to being peace and quiet. But the nature of my partner and the hundreds of other partners I've had, yes, I was once a whore. I'm a recovering whore too.
Right.
Is to not be quiet. It's like it's peace and noise for them. Mm-hmm. And I might be even going too far with that. Their version of quiet is not my version of quiet.
Yeah.
Their version of relaxing is not necessarily my version of relaxing.
Right. Their piece is different than your piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And what brings them soothing. And when those things are opposing, which is typical for men and women, we're just talking about our relationships, oftentimes those energies are opposing each other. Mm-hmm. You know?
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely. For instance, when it's 9:00 at night, I've had a long, hard day. I've busted my ass either outside or at work. I finally have had dinner. I'm dying of thirst, so I'm drinking my water, watching TV, quietly in my recliner, minding my own motherfucking business. Feet kicked up. And I go like this, because here's the signal to let everyone know that I'm ready to be bothered. As soon as I do that, the vacuums turn on, the dishwasher's going. I might have even tried to do the laundry just to prevent that shit from coming up. Did the cat box just to make sure no one's irritated that the cat box isn't done. And it never fails that where I have positioned my love seed in my living room is the exact place that needs to be vacuumed at that given moment while I'm watching TV. I can't even see TV anymore. I don't say anything anymore. Smart. I've actually gotten up to get out of the way and come sat in my office to watch TV. Just so I removed myself from the place I was relaxing and was bothering everybody who needed to do something at that moment. I'm like, oh, look, a quiet spot. And then, of course, what happens? What happens on that door? This door right here. This door. What happens? Hey, are you busy? Is it okay if we vacuum? Too fucking late. You're too.
Dude, every Saturday morning, everybody knows what we do. 9:30 to 11.
Not my girl. She forgets every Saturday.
Oh, everybody in my house forgets. Like they know when the door is closed and locked. I'm live. Like, do your thing out there, and I'll get both the door knocks and the phone calls. Like,
so listen, I think our listeners are going to think we're bitching.
Nope.
We're venting.
Yes.
We don't need any solutions right now. In 2 minutes, we'll ask for all the solutions. But we need to get it out because these are the things that plague our relationships.
Listen, listen, here's the one thing, right? Like, I get all that and I deal with it. It's okay. I just figure it's part of being in a relationship or being a father or whatever. Here's what fucks my head up. The statement, well, you should have known. The implied understanding, like, you should have understood before. This is what I don't read minds. I can barely acknowledge and understand what goes through my brain, let alone for you to assume that I understand what goes through your brain, right? Like, this isn't a whole, like, women are crazier. I don't believe that at all. I just think we have totally different thought processes. And men in general don't understand their own, right? Like, most human beings don't understand their own. If you don't tell me I don't know and I don't know how to do nothing to like, I don't know.
Well, even what you said there is our thought process, and the other person might be using a feeling process. Those are two different languages.
Yep.
And I'm not saying one is better than the other, because we know what it's like not to have feelings, and then the damage that we've caused because we didn't have feelings. So we're trying to learn how to tap into embracing, acknowledging, identifying feelings. And I find that a lot of times what we do here, so, I'm going through executive coaching right now.
Yep.
And we were reflecting on my last leadership role. And my coach asked me, she says, how, like, if I was defining a problem I was having, in my leadership role, she was like, okay, what did you do? And how do you know that's what they needed? And that was it seems very simplistic and it's like no brainer, right? But until you hear that question, I mean, what's the obvious answer to that? How do you know what they need? Because what you're doing may make sense in the way you apply logic in what people need, but it could be 1 degree or 100 degrees off from what the person who's on the receiving end of that needs. Right?
Right.
So now we're starting to get into like the gist of the real nature of the issues here. Because, yeah, like you said, you don't know what they need or what they wanted. How do you find out? This is what we would call in the business world the voice of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do you find the voice? How do you hear? What's the delivery mechanism for the voice of the customer? Because if it's based on assumption. Now, the other side, to your point, which I have done as well, is that you're like, I don't read minds. The argument could be made as true, but did you invest any time to attend to that, to attend to her, to him, whoever, like, did you ask, hey, like, so if I'm getting up, I don't want to be bothered when I'm sitting down. So if I'm getting up, I'm going to ask, hey, would you like something? I'm going to the kitchen. Do you need something?
Mm-hmm.
Or I can get up and just go. Everybody else probably needed something, but I wasn't attending to that, being attentive to that. And so they might feel like, he could have asked, because if they do it, when they get up,
feel like they're imposing.
Yeah. And so it's remember what we said, relationships, and I probably should write more about this for FA, but relationships are not 50-50. When you think about that, right? Yep. Literally, if you have two people doing 50-50, half the shit that needs to get done doesn't get done ever. Yep. Because two people doing half the shit doesn't ever complete the mission.
Right.
We say, oh, no, it equals 100%. No, it doesn't. It equals two halves. Right? Like if you cut an apple in half, you have two pieces, but it's not whole. You have enough of mass to make a whole apple, but it's been physically changed. It's not whole. It's not. It will never be a whole apple to a sense, but you will have the whole amount for a whole apple, but it's different because it's been cut in half, right? And now, if that person needs a whole apple, and you eat your half and they eat their half, did she get what she needed?
No.
Or he, right? You see how that works? Like it's not 50-50. And here's where I think, my friend, you and I have come up short throughout our lives and our relationships, is we think we've done our part and that should be enough.
Yep.
Right? And we mean it. Like, we're doing our part 100%, man. 100%. Right? We're doing our part. But how many times have the people in our lives said, in one way or another, it's not enough?
Yeah.
And here's why it's not enough. Because it wasn't informed by the voice of the customer, by the voice of the receiver, by the voice of the loved one. It was, you're building the best bike, but you haven't done any research on what makes the best bike by interviewing the people who have an idea of what the best bike would look like. And you put a blinging, banging bike out, but with little to no input or insight from what the world wanted, and you're wondering why it's not selling. You're like, this bike has titanium spokes, and look,
and my customer could give two shits and doesn't want it.
The gear ratio, and all they wanted was a lamp,
right?
So they could write
a bell.
Some
Order
shit
like bell. That. Where's my bell?
Or a seat that doesn't act like a dildo going up your ass when you're riding over rocky territory, right? Like, just, can I get a comfortable seat that doesn't look dorky, please? Or it doesn't look like a penis coming out of two butt cheeks.
Right.
Like, can I get something? Like, I'm learning this right now. Like, I think, here's what we do. We do the chore. We do what was asked. And we're like, finish line. And that other person, probably appreciates it and doesn't want to say anything, so he or she doesn't seem unappreciating, or whatever that word is. So it doesn't say anything over time. And then eventually what it leads to is resentment. Yeah. So that points to another issue. And I think this is the fundamental of where we started. The communication of all the total amount of needs from each person is rarely had. Right? Now, Monte, when you wake up, how many things are on your to-do list when you wake up?
On a daily basis, more than I can handle.
All right. So on Lizzie's to-do list or Julie's to-do list, how much is on their list?
Little to nothing. No.
I do not support that comment.
Sorry, Julie. Sorry, Lizzie.
Dude, don't say shit like that.
Oh, dude, Lizzie's job's way harder than mine, man. She's got to get up and get the kids ready for school most days.
So I wouldn't compare apples to oranges. I would stop at, it's hard.
Yep.
Right? Like, I would stop at, because there's no need to compare. Like,
our jobs are hard.
Julie knows that what I'm doing around here, nobody else can physically do. It's hard, intense labor. It's heavy. It's sweaty. It's dangerous most of the times because of who knows what, bugs, snakes, and I'm talking about venomous shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm outside working in 110-degree weather all day long, getting shit done for us, right? Now, that's not to say that's not hard. That's hard. It's hard in its own way. And then you look at your partner's list, and it's hard in its own way. And that's that kind of recognition of that. What we don't want to do is get into
who's got a harder job,
solving problems and or comparing problems. Those are things that will kill a relationship. Because when I say, damn, this is a problem, and you say, yeah, it's a problem, I have this problem, both of those are true, but neither one has actually been tended to or validated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it might make me seem like you're comparing your problem to my problem. It's going to say, so you don't think my problem is just as big or just
as invalidate your struggle.
See, that's the word I was looking for, that validation. We just don't need to invalidate it. I think we do that unintentionally all the time, where we cancel somebody's grievance out with a grievance that we think can cancel it out.
Most
Like,
definitely.
babe, you know I got to do my live show. Cancels out. I could use some help out here in the morning when you're informers. They're both. It's called a dilemma.
Yeah.
And here's what I think is at the bottom of a lot of the problems in our relationship. They stem from dilemmas. Because in order to give you 100%, in order to get 100%, remember, the tasks or things on my list and the tasks and things on your list are not going to get achieved because it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you needing to do your meeting in the morning, her needing help changing a diaper, both of those are true and equally as important, but it's a dilemma, which means there's no immediate solution. So here's how I think that if we show up, and I can only speak for men, I can't speak for the women, and the women are strangely silent right now, that we should not assume that means agreement. I've learned that as well. But they definitely will know when we go too far, like you just did when you said.
Are they waiting to pounce?
I don't know. They could be. I don't know. Jess's profile looks like she's like.
She's in my kitchen right now too.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So listen.
I'm in danger.
Yes, we all are. Me and you are. This is like the praying mantis ready to get their head
ready to
up.
pounce.
So now, so remember when I was talking about we think relationships are 50-50. I think the 100% part comes in. See, this is typical. I wasn't even listening.
She was taking out the garbage.
Yeah. I get
Are
it.
you shaming me, Jess? Is that like a shame move right there?
That's or did they need you to take out the garbage and you not fulfill that need? Which way you want to look at that?
You are correct. I did not fulfill the need. I did not do that this morning, and I should have. That's the first thing I did.
No. How you could have taken the initiative, but what is another way we've just been talking about to find out what they need?
I could have asked.
And this is the fundamental thing. Good morning, Ann. This is the fundamental thing.
And
right? The fundamental thing is underneath all of these fucking problems. You ready for this? Because this is a doozy. And it goes because the way we relate to what I'm about to say is very different on either side of this coin. You ready for this? Here is the source of the problem. We alluded to it just a minute ago. There's not enough comms. One day, I'm going to give you a very heavy task today, and I'm going to do it too. As the men in the lives of our women, and that's really all I can speak to, use our experiences to share, right? I'm going to ask you to ask Lizzie, and I'm going to ask Julie. And FYI, if I don't post in the next 12 hours, you know it didn't go well.
Listen, I have the protocol all set up. If I don't hear from you for a 24-hour period, I know all the EMS and the first responders and the National Guard. I know if it comes to that, Julie's going to go off the far end.
Oh my God, dude! Hey,
sorry, Julie, I love you.
Let's take a time out. We'll come back to this. I got to tell you about this joke Samaya pulled yesterday. We're coming back. I took her to Springfield to do a little bit of school shopping. We might have to go back because we ran out of time. You know, Springfield's like an hour and a half from here, so
yeah.
It's a little road hike. But Samaya has been in the habit of doing this country voice imitation, right? So she's like, you know, just speaking like a cowboy more or whatever, you know, like she's from the country, and what would you do? And so she asked Julie a random question, but this is not the funny part. She says, Julie, if you could get pregnant, would you eat the placenta? And Julie's about to answer, right? Like Julie's like shocked and like, what? And then Samaya out of the interrupts Julie. It says, Julie, if you could get pregnant again, again, or if you could get pregnant, would you eat and have the baby? Would you eat the placenta? And Julie goes, and she says, I would do it. Dude,
I'm so over that. I can't do it, man.
I would do it. Like
She's gangster, bro. And I don't doubt her.
Dude, it's like she wouldn't even. She didn't even really need Julie's answer. She just jumped right. I would do it. I was like, what the fuck?
And judging Julie the whole time.
I'm like, what the fuck? I would do it. Holy shit, man! What is
That's
wrong?
your kid, bro.
What is wrong?
You did that. That's all your fault. Like,
and then
blaming nobody.
And then she's on the phone call because she's got a boyfriend. It's a long distance relationship. It's about as harmless as it can get. He lives in North Carolina, so knock yourself out, Mija.
Right. I'm so happy for you guys.
Out of your system, whatever. So after she does that, she's on this call with one of her friends named Mo, and she's giving out relationship advice to Mo. So, filter that through the fact that she just said she would eat a placenta.
Like raw, she's on that shit.
Oh, hold on, pause. Look at Ann got some good news. No way!
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Look at Ann. Do you have? Hey, we need a mixer so you can make that.
Oh, Anna's on too. Hey, Anna. Love you, babe.
Did you see what she said?
Yeah, she got the job at Foxconn. Shipping and receiving clerk. Hell yeah.
Who else were you saying hi to?
Right above her is my friend. So Anna Babcock and I have known each other since we were like 15.
Sorry for that, Anna Savino, Babcock, that you had to be friends with Montesola.
I've known Ann since wow, shit. I was 16 or 17 when we met, and she lived upstairs from my mom on Kewanee in Geneva. And we've been family since. So.
And I want you to notice we're talking about how men engage in relationships, and I want you to notice how Ann posted something a month and made it about him. This is exactly the problem we're talking about.
Just keep throwing me under that bus, bro.
You
right under that bus, bro.
You need to stop. I think you should apologize for that harm and any other harm you made.
Caused a lot of harm. That one is the least of the ones that Morning, babe.
Yeah. Good morning, Amy. How are you? You guys, I should probably tell Samaya's joke again because you guys would probably think it's hilarious. But we'll move forward because if you wanted to hear it, you would have been here on time.
Ooh, Ben. I want you all to know that was not my comment, nor was that endorsed by me or any of my belief systems. I respect you, and I am willing to retell and re-listen to that entire story because it's not your fault. Sammy didn't send out the invites like I did.
Oh, see here. How do we know that they needed the invites? Did you ask?
I mean,
did you create the voice of the customer pathway for us?
I did. I sent out invites because I am considerate.
Yeah, that's right, Amy. Amy's balling right now, man. Just got that lake view property, man.
Right down the street from me. It's literally right around the corner.
That's terrible, but that's great too in some ways. So now Amy can just really pop up on super. He needs more supervision, not less.
Or I could just pop up on her, although I do not want to.
Amy has guns. I would say
yes.
That's not a good idea.
Yes.
And Amy is trigger happy. I would say that's also not good.
Well, I wouldn't say trigger happy. I think that's a very aggressive way to address a woman who's concerned about her protection.
No, that's not what I was referring to. I was referring to all that time she just wanted to pull the trigger on somebody that may or may not. We all know.
No popping in at my dad.
Ooh, she got the gun out already.
You know. We don't pop in on Amy. I always give her a call. Even when we worked in the office together at her house, I'd always call her and inform her, hey, I'm on my way. I know I have a key, but I'm on my way. Right? Like
people, I don't think we live in a time and in a place where people just pop up anymore.
That's not true because I have very inconsiderate, very unaware friends who just occasionally knock on my door. Like it'll be
Well,
11:30
yeah,
at night. They'll be like, "Hey, what you doing, bro?" I'm asleep. Like I'm unconscious, or I'm laying down, or I'm in the bubble bath. Like it's 11:30 at night. Um, it's like those phone calls. I get those phone calls, and I always try to answer them because if someone's calling me after 10 p.m., I'm old school. Like after 10, you don't call people unless it's an emergency. So when people call me at 10:45 on a Tuesday night, right? I expect to hear, "Oh my God, bro, I need your help," or "Oh my God, did you hear this happen?" Not "What you doing, bro?" Fuck do you mean? What am I doing? It's 10:45 on a Tuesday night. I'm laying children down and going to sleep and getting ready for bed. Are you fucking human? Like,
or do you have kids? Do you know what it's like?
right. Like I may not be going to sleep, but motherfucker, at 11:30 at night, I'm definitely laying my fat ass down. Fuck you mean?
Well,
What am I
I
doing?
think that's a good reflection of how you need to clean up your boundaries.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't know, you're on Android, right? I don't. Do you guys have like a do not disturb feature?
Yeah.
I would put that on because you can set it up on my phone so that you're basically asleep and the phone knows not to bother you. So
At 8:49, I'm calling because I'm laying down, but I'm not people.
because I'm not people and no more. I don't understand what you just said, Amy.
What I tend to do, because I have family members who, health wise, it's not possible for me to shut my phone off.
I think you can select people who call you after those hours for their
Yeah.
lines to still go through.
Yeah. So, and that's what I tend to do is make sure that I can get the calls from the people who I need to hear from just in case.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still a little, yeah.
What's crazy is we live in a time and a place where we do have to be worried like that, but you do have to set some boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to be able to rest. I think we're balancing between boundaries and hypervigilance all the time, and so we've got to learn to calm down a little bit and just assume things are going to be okay. And there are multiple ways for people to reach us nowadays, and so it's not like turning off your phone is going to really black you out from the world. So
Yeah, what I tend to tell people is text me if it's an emergency,
Yeah.
and then blow me up. If I don't answer the text and it's emergency, blow me up. But text me, let me know, and then I'll call you as soon as I can.
So what we were talking about is, now we're going to get back to what the problem, where I think the source of the problem, or a major source of the problem of the issues between what we do and what the people in our lives need, and what we think about what we do and what they think about what we do, being often different bipolar reactions, right? Like, hey, I really knocked that out when I cleaned out that cat litter, and I'm thinking, yeah, but for whatever reason. Now here's the source. I think. Remember, let's reflect. You have a lot of people approach relationships like it's me doing my 50% and you doing your 50%, and we meet in the middle. We recognize that doesn't add up and it doesn't make it whole. What does make it whole is when we can bring 100% of ourselves to any relationship all of the time. And that might mean, let's think about it. If you're in an argument with, your person, and the 50-50 mark is sitting at the table, what's the next step?
You got to increase it.
Somebody's got to say something. Mm-hmm. So you might say, well, I did my 50%, so it's not my turn. The other person might be thinking the same thing. But when you're trying to be in a relationship and you bring 100% of yourself to the table, whether you're the asshole in it or the victim in it, what should happen? Both of you should be willing to start the conversation in a healthy relationship. But a lot of times we think, well, you are the problem, so you should do it, or I'm not going to do it because for whatever reason. That's not bringing 50. That is 50-50. That's half-assing. Right. That's half-assing it right there. you both have to be able to come to that table and both be willing to go all the way. Here's the thing. If you're on a 100-yard field, right? How far the middle is 50. So Monte, if you do your 50%, when will you reach Lizzie?
Halfway. I won't reach her. I can't.
Boom. See that, there it is. Okay, so that you need to pin that. That is the source of the issue of doing 50-50. You love Lizzie, right? Why wouldn't you be willing to go 100% of the way for her?
Right.
Right? And the same thing applies to Lizzie. Like, she has to be willing to go all the way, because at that point, the distance is so great. Who gives a fuck what the problems or origins are? I need to get back to my person. So if you're in an argument, you may only want to go 50%. But if this was an earthquake and you got separated because of an earthquake, how far are you willing to go now?
Yeah.
Right? It's just your perspective of how much you become willing to do. It's so in many ways, we're talking about a willingness to go so far. And what's going to interfere with that willingness is your ego, false pride, hurt feelings.
Go back to ego, because in general, that's where looking back at my life, that's where my faults always started, right? My ego. Who the fuck are they talking to? Or how can you know what I mean? Like, my ego played a role in almost every shitty thought process I started to go down the wrong path, right? Like, every time I made a fucked up choice, if I look back at it, my ego played a role in some sort of way with that. Especially,
I think it can be ego, and I think for me and you, it's likely to be ego. But for some people, it's emotional.
Yep.
For some people, it's a pattern. For some people, it's historical. Like, there are many reasons, but it's good for us to be self-aware of what might be my reason.
Right. I'm not talking about other people. I'm saying for me.
Yeah.
And that was a revelation to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never understood why I fucked everything up. Yeah. Right. I never understood it was always someone else's fault. It was always someone else's problem. It was always someone else who made it that way.
Or we never asked, what part did I play in this?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go to Anna. Anna, I need to know if you hear me. I'm not going to do it unless you say it's okay. I want to weigh in on what you just wrote, which is right. That's why I'm single, because I can't do someone who isn't going to do that. It's always me 100 and them 0. Is it okay for me to weigh in on that? And I want you to know, I come from a place of love, but you might not like a part of what I'm about to say, or you might feel like it's an eye opener. Are you okay if I address that? All right, cool. Monte lives on Broadleaf if you need to take this out on anybody.
Damn it. Don't get me fucked up.
So there's something in here that I want to address. It says it's always me 100% and them 0. Monte just said it's always somebody else's fault. That's what that statement is. Doesn't mean that you're the person who's giving 0. You could very well be giving 100%. But here's what I have told my daughter recently, who's an adult, by the way. I said, if you've never been to the ocean, you might not realize that you're fishing out of a pond. And actually, you're not even fishing out of a pond, you're fishing out of a bucket. And so what you don't realize is that you throw those fish in the bucket back in the pond, and then you scoop out more fish from the pond, put back in that bucket because you think they're different fish. So when you're fishing in the same hole all the time from the same source, of course you're going to get someone who only gives you 0 because you haven't switched up your game. When it comes to relationships, we have to ask, what am I doing that's reinforcing this pattern? right? We tend to marry our mom or our dad. Like we tend to marry somebody in one of those forms. That means unresolved issues, unresolved trauma, a lack of forgiveness, a lack of healing. We're not getting enough therapy or counseling or coaching. Look, I'm in self-help. I'm in executive coaching, and periodically when I have issues arise, I go back to counseling. You're never done. And those things I see as advisors, perspectives, that's how I'm sharp. That's just how I function though. I love when I can run things past multiple people. At the end of the day, I'm still going to make my decision, and all of them know that, and no one feels disrespected when I don't go with their idea. The true strength of that exercise was to get variables introduced. In getting this. So if you are getting the same result each time, that means the source of that problem is in your hands, Anna. That doesn't mean that what the other people are doing isn't what they're doing, but you're fishing in a pond that attracts that kind of fish. Or, as I've been told about myself, I'm emitting like a radio transmission. And so when you go to a radio, I don't know if anyone listens to the radio anymore, even if you go to like a music app, you get to select the genre you like. You actually cancel out all the other genres you don't like because the algorithms start picking up on what you do like based on what you're submitting and what you're emitting. And so it's going to send you a bunch of country music, if that's what you like, or R&B or rap, or the current hits. It catches on that. But remember, you like that, and then you'll tell somebody, right? Tell me if I'm getting this wrong with that. You'll listen to your music app, and then after a while you turn it off because now you're just hearing all the same songs again.
All the time.
Guess what? You could have changed the fucking channel, but you're only attracted to certain kind of music, and you can only take so much of that certain kind of music at a certain point. And so then you shut it off. Now I'm single forever. I'm not listening to no more music. When what we need to do is change the fucking channel or change the algorithm that we're putting out. I would say, and I had to come to terms with the bad relationships and the patterns of that I was the one that was responsible for who I was dating, not for what they were doing, but for my choice selection. The channel I wanted to tune into for what reason, right? When I change that, who I attract changes. But here's the problem. I have to make sure that I've addressed or am addressing, done a fair share amount of pre-work, and then, in real life, trying this new way of being. I have to be new, because here's the problem. If you think of this, you have an adult voice here, and then you have a child voice here. Everybody has that. So Monte has an adult voice and a child voice. If I'm coming to Monte with my adult voice and he's coming to me with his child voice, guess what? We're not going to work it out. It's not going to work out, or vice versa. But if my child is speaking to his child, that's going to be terrible. That's going to be tragic, because now you got two kids who wish each other got hit by a bus and died, right? That's what the child voice says. I wish you would die, or I hate you, or let's not be responsible. Let's keep fucking, like that child voice is.
Disclaimer here, Sammy and I are not fucking. I'm okay with homosexuality, but
anymore.
Not Sammy, not me and Sammy. I broke up with him. I'm done with him.
We're in committed relationships.
That's right. I'm no longer willing to sleep with Sammy.
And when we were, I was the outside of the spoon, FYI. Now,
we were playing on the same team. It doesn't matter.
When you work it out, listen, when you work it out and you get that mature brain involved, and that here's what's going to happen. If you work it out, you're coming from the parent brain, which means you're going to want someone coming from the parent brain too, so to speak, right? Who's on your level. A lot of people say they're not on my level. And normally it's emotionally and mentally that they're not on your level. It's not, I mean, unless you're materialistic, finances should be considered if you're getting serious. Like, how does this person live financially too, right? Like, because can we align or not, right? Those are important things. But we're not talking about, we're just purely talking about the internal work right now. Now, what I think we have to remember is that if I want a parent brain, or the adult brain person in my life, but I'm still operating from that historical trauma, unresolved issues, things that I need to work on that I haven't really undergone a process for with anyone. It doesn't count if you did it on your own, and it doesn't count if you did it on your own over a long time, because remember, I think the strength in recovery and in any process of healing are multiple perspectives, because you need to have your perspectives challenged, right? They need to be challenged, not to hurt you, but to help you see things differently and to grow. And we need fresh air. You can't just keep breathing the same air. You can't keep swimming in the same pond. But we do. We're patterns.
Let's pause for a second. You guys, and nobody's judging anybody here about where you're at. Like, it's okay to be in your child brain. Like, I just don't want people to feel like, that's a judgment call on our part. Like, where you're at in your recovery, where you're at in your life, where you're at in your maturity stage is fine. It's okay, right? Like, I don't mind. It took me a long time to get there.
That's a great point. And I'm just being very practical. Yep. And I'm going to tell you, I'm never going to say to you anything I haven't experienced and overcome myself. Yep. These are realizations I've had to come to through a process of recovery, of counseling, of mentoring, of talking, of coaching, and experimenting with the change, right? And there's a lot of failure in there. There's a lot of failure in there. Once they watched me go through a divorce, and there was a lot of failure in my divorce, a lot of failure in my dating, and a lot of failure in just trying to figure out who I was while I was trying to do all of that. And it's important to be able to bounce these things off and have support, right? And to have people honestly be able to tell you, like, hey, you've got to look at yourself too. I know there are a lot of assholes out there who take advantage of people and don't contribute. How is it that we keep ending up with them, right? They're going to be there. Even Amy says there's a lot of catfish in Racine. On the flip side, there's a lot of prime meat there too, so to speak. There's good fish there, right? But it tends to be where we frequent. I always tell people, you want to date, when you go to a bar, what are you dating? I don't think it's much better when you go to church, but you might find something a little bit better at church, or you might find something a little better at the library, or a little, right? We have to even look at those environments that we're putting ourselves in when we're trying to date, right? Yeah. My sister dates our missing father. Her whole life, all the men, or not her missing father, I'm sorry, her first love, who was, and this is really sick, this was my family. My sister was 13. My parents waited until she turned 14, brought her to St. Louis to allow her to marry a 24-year-old man. My sister knows this story, but my parents ended up beating that guy near death, not because of what he did to my sister, but because he didn't have money that they wanted from him. They tied him up in the basement and beat him up, and then he ran off. My sister has been dating that guy and every other guy, and it never works, and they're all the same. They're all beating her when she hasn't put enough salt in the beans. They're all womanizers. They're all bar rats, leather coats and skinny pants, shit, like hardcore Mexican dudes, right? And
right.
That's been every person's, and yeah, you can say, yeah, all of those guys were assholes. But what I would say is, why do you keep going back to that? That will get you, because we can't control others, focusing on what my part is will help you.
Yeah.
Will help you do that, right? And I think, honestly, I'm in the first true healthy relationship of my life, and it's taken me 50 plus years to get there. A lot of mistakes, a lot of bad decisions. Knowing I was making bad decisions and still making bad decisions.
Isn't that fucked up? Because we do that a lot.
Well, we do that a lot until we learn the lesson that it takes to overcome that. Like, it's like rock climbing, right? They call it a problem, and you try to do this route, and it could take you months or years to figure out how to do that one move. And then when you finally learn the move, like what it took, how to make this little adjustment, you can do it every time after that.
I don't have it here because the kids took it, but the Rubik's Cube, perfect example. I spent 2 years fucking with the Rubik's Cube trying to learn how to do it. The minute I got it down, right? Like I can't forget it. I know what to do, and it's automatic. Like I just go, bam, I can do a Rubik's Cube now, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to make sure that we're
love you more, Julie. And just so you know, Julie, I love you more than he does.
I mean, we could use some money.
All right. Well, Julie,
put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. Listen.
Sorry, Julie.
I want to make this clear. Simply going to a different pond is not the solution. If you don't do the work on yourself, and it can take time, no matter if you switch to a lake because you use the same bait, the same approach, you will still. Now, let's say you catch a fish completely different. If that person is here and you're still here, it's not going to work. That person won't want anything to do with you because you're not on the same level.
Yep.
It might work for a little bit, but pretty soon that person is going to get concerned, scared off, whatever you want to call it. You have to elevate. Now, I'm not saying it's not a balance between head and heart. I'm just using that as a different level of the voice. Like imagine a kid trying to be responsible versus an adult trying to be responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think there's some truth to that, Amy. You know, it's if we're the radio and we change the frequency, what we're going to attract will be different. But it takes a certain amount of effort to change the frequency, you know. And I think we're all the three of us are all involved in that, you know, trying to adjust the frequency to fine tune it. You know, don't give up on men. I would say let's focus. Or women, let's focus on adjusting and raising our own frequencies and watch the magic happen, man. When you're ready, they'll come, you know. And I know, like you, Monta, I'm blessed to have Julie in my life who has, you know, you have Lizzie, but who has been able, I was, you know, while I have all this worldly experience, I was coming out of a divorce and a serious breakup, right? I wasn't 100%. And eventually she did what this person was going to do, which is saying, hey, I've dealt with this for so long, but if it keeps up this way, I can't stick it out with you. Yeah. But a person down here dealing with someone like me would have stuck it out. And here's an important pattern I discovered about myself. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Munta. Throughout my whole life, I have never been the one to break up with anyone.
Really?
I've never broken up with anyone. I've always been broken up with. It wasn't until my divorce with Denise that I finally left someone.
So that's funny because that's the same for me until me and Kelly split. Kelly was the first relationship I walked away from.
Right. And I think being on the streets, we're desperate. Being in prison, we're desperate. And so we hang on to things as tightly as we can, even to a boiling point fault, right? Like,
yeah.
And just because I did it once didn't mean the second time I had to do it didn't require an enormous amount of effort. It took me a lot longer than I'm comfortable with, but I still was able to do it because I realized my worth wasn't being valued and appreciated, and neither were the worth of my children. So I had to peel that, like it was almost like instead of scabs, like ripping stitches and staples out because I still wasn't even healed from the first one.
For me, and it took a lot of looking back and a lot of thinking and a lot of time, and I'm just starting to realize it. For me, I have an utter terror of hurting somebody I cared about, right? I have this terror of causing them harm that I feel like they don't deserve, regardless of the reason. Like most of the people that I should have broke up with, we were bad for each other from the start, right? But to walk away from them, right, meant to hurt them, and I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it. Lizzie and I set some pretty basic ground rules in the beginning, like just between ourselves, right? Like this is what I won't accept. You cannot yell at me. You cannot become physically violent with me. You cannot become assaultive with your language with me. I will leave. Like that's for me dealing with what I've dealt with physically, like the threat of violence, even the raising of our voice at each other. These are things I don't accept in my house. I won't let them happen in front of my children, and I won't let them happen to you or me. Right? That's my cutoff. Right? So for me, it was just the fear of hurting someone. Like it still affects my thought process. Like when we're upset, the reason why I don't yell, or the reason why I can't stand the thought of bringing harm to them, right, through my actions intentionally, right? Unintentional stuff, I have to work on if that happens, but please tell me so I can understand that what I said was harmful or painful.
See, and I think both you and Amy bring up a really good point. When I read Amy's comment here about what she projects, about what she's really like, what we're all talking about is being authentic, being the real you. So I would say, like, if you're putting out a boss bitch, but you're really this way, there's something that is saying, I don't think that being this way in the world will help me do what I need to do. So I need to put out this persona. That makes sense to me, but we can see where that leads to problems, right? I think you have to get to a point, any of us have to get to a point where being our authentic selves is how we lead into any relationship. So for example, me and you are very open about, I struggle with certain thoughts. That's being authentic. I cry. Like, that's being authentic. I'm afraid. That's being authentic. Yeah, I know I have this face, and then sometimes I come off as aggressive, but I'm really not trying to be that way, but I can't help being that way. We just have to be authentic and be willing to be vulnerable. Putting out a boss bitch business-wise, I mean, yeah, that could. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday where they were talking about this Black woman was working in like this predominantly white corporate office as like a VP of something. And one of her bosses ran into her 15 years ago at a church. They were at a church. And what he saw her leadership style in the church, and it's like, she could do wonders for our company. Brings her in and is disappointed with her because she's not leading in the church. She's not leading in the company the way he saw her leading in the church, and was basically saying she just can't do it. And then that guy's boss said, that's strange. I wonder why not. And let's go back to the beginning of our question, voice of the customer. How do we find out? We ask. So they brought the woman into the meeting and asked her, like, hey, so-and-so is saying that he sees this style of leadership here. You've been here for X amount of years. How come we haven't seen that? Like, what, have we seen it and missed it? Or do you think what you do at the church could benefit us here if you did that here? And here's what she said. I am 100% absolutely believe that what I do at the church would do wonders here for our company. But the reason I don't is because it's not supported and encouraged. If I were to do that here, I think most of my counterparts would find it threatening and would accuse me of being too manly or too masculine or aggressive. And so when you look at that scenario, the VP basically said to her, I want you to be your authentic self here. And we're the ones who have to make the adjustment. Because if what you do can bring us closer to what we're trying to accomplish, we need to empower you to do that. We need to find a way to help you do it. That we either and I know in society, and I do believe this, that it's very hard. It's a hard society to live in for women because of how men tend to treat women. And that makes, like anything, it was hard on us. So what did we do? We did what Amy is saying. We put the best parts of ourselves away, projecting an image into the world that we thought would protect us. And what we found out is that by putting that part of ourselves away, we created a lot of chaos. And now that we recognize that, we're working towards is going back to being authentic. I have feelings, I have fears, I have concerns, I have thoughts. I'm vulnerable. I love, to play with my kids. It's very hard to get to that because of our personal experiences that have taught us we need to be something else other than who we really are. Monte, as a child, what's the number one thing you wanted to do as a child?
Play.
One word.
Play.
What's one thing? Play. All we want to, how many kids just want to fucking play and have to put playing away forever because of their environments? And then at some point, we get to a point in our adult life where we don't even want to play still, even though we could and we can and we should. We have the ability because we're still using defense mechanisms from our experiences that shaped us. We didn't realize how we were shaped. The difference is when you're in recovery, life doesn't shape you, it forms you. You're no longer just being shaped. You are flexing your muscles to create the image of yourself that you want. And that's really the point of what we're talking about. I love Amy. Amy, I love you for being so open and honest here. It really just brings this whole conversation to a head where we really just need to start getting back to our authentic selves. But most of the time we get triggered and we respond from a place of trauma, unresolved issues, historical context,
Fear.
None of which is rooted in today, in the here and now. Here's what I would say. If you want to get over your trust issues, be 100% trusting. And I know that's counter. When you don't trust and you project that in all the million ways that we can, you actually attract more reasons to be mistrusting than you do reasons to be trusting. Like I've always said this, if there's a safe in your house and you put your valuables in there, you've essentially told the robbers where they need to look to get your shit. And there's always someone who can crack that safe and take your shit, right? I've been hurt time and time again. We hear this all the time. Yeah, you had it in the safe and the professionals came in and took your shit. Safes are false security. It's a false security. Isn't a safe in the world that can't be broken into, right? Yeah. Sometimes now, if you put the valuable right on top of the safe, they may miss it completely because it's not in their purview.
Per example, Green Bay Max, during my, wilder times, I had an entire cigarette pack rolled joints. Like I had joints in it, the whole cigarette pack, right on my table, not thinking nothing but, that I'm watching some show on my little 13-inch black and white. They ripped my room apart from top to bottom, and walked out of there with my cigarette pack sitting on my desk, full of joints. Like there was no cigarette in it. Like it was all 100% sticks. We call them sticks in the joint. And like they took like half my canteen because I was over the limit, but didn't find an entire pack of weed sitting on my fucking desk because that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for what I hid. Right.
So that's exactly the point. Your defense mechanisms attract the very thing that you don't want to attract, and you're unaware of that, so you keep trying to do it. Insanity has been said to be doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm going to call bullshit on that definition. I love it, but I don't think it's accurate. Because from a counseling therapeutic, I've been in the clinical world for a long time. If you tell me you really expected a different result, I understand. I get it. You're doing it because you think it would be different, despite the facts. I get that. But we do the same thing over and over again and knowing the results, and we still do it anyway. I keep fishing from the same pond, and the fish tastes and acts and looks the same each time. We know that that's what it's going to be, but we somehow have decided that regardless of that fact, I'm going to keep doing it. You're not even expecting a different result at this point. You expect the same result. And sometimes that can turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy when we expect that result. All men are assholes, so all men will be assholes, and whoever I date will thus be an asshole. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if I expect him to be an asshole, even before he's become an asshole, I'm going to subliminally, subconsciously, and consciously start treating him like the asshole I know he is. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have all probably ruined a great relationship that we once had because we couldn't put those things away. Right? You know, like maybe we were involved in I know I was. I know I've had some really good people in my life who could have been awesome for me, but I fucked it up. It's like when I got arrested as a child, I was a runaway, a homeless kid, and they took me to a $1 million family foster home. These people lived in Lake Forest. They had one of those homes that had like a brick fence that went like 4 blocks around.
Yeah.
You know, these people had a home. They had the whole church waiting for me. Dude, I ran away that same night. Like, I couldn't do it. You know, it's all. So I still hadn't even got to tell you it's what it is really. I think it boils down to when we're working on these relationships, and I hope I've sent love and not darts. Like I know some of this stuff can feel pinchy, but that's not the intention. And I'm sorry if it can hurt to hear some of this because you probably have never really been validated that your hurts and wounds are valid, that your experiences are valid. And I want you to know, like whatever Anna or Amy, you know, even Julie, you know, and whoever is listening, I want you to know I understand. I get why it's this way and been this way. Because I've woke up from that same experience. Monte has awoken from that same experience. We get that. We want to validate that. And so for me to, Monte, we screwed up already. We went straight to the solution again.
Right?
Damn it. we're trying to figure out how not to do that. We just did it again. But in the acknowledgement of that, I have to keep going. I have to say that it may be hard to hear that that some of this is in your hands when no one has ever said, I'm sorry what's happened to you. Yeah. And I think we can take a moment to grieve that together and say, I'm sorry what's happened to you. That's shitty. You know, and I know some of the stories on the people on this call, and I know you had a shitty fucking experience, multiple shitty, and no one really ever fucking cared, which is why, Monte, I mean, you know this by now, me and you used violence in a world where we felt no one cared, because at least our violence could make you stop and pause and look and listen. Didn't matter. It didn't matter what you did with it. We needed to interrupt your day the way my life had been interrupted, and violence was the only way we could do that. Yeah. And for a lot of us, go ahead.
I still, like, I stand by what I said. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, bro, I heard what you said one time, and he was like, he said it explained his thoughts and his actions, and I was like, what are you talking about? He said, you made people's outside feel like you're inside.
Yeah.
And I was like,
true story.
I talk about it now and I want to cry. Like, that's exactly how I felt. And that's what I thought in my head when I would hurt people. Like, do you want to know what it feels like? Do you want to know what it feels like? The best I can teach you, the best I can show you. Is the goose at the window?
Buckley looking right at me.
What's up, bro?
Dude, he hears me in there and he just stands by the window for the hour and a half.
Waiting for you to come out and kick it. But that was my only form of expression to tell people how I felt. Like, because they didn't understand and they didn't want to understand, right? That was the other thing. In my head, they didn't want to know, right? They didn't really want to know. They were just asking questions to be polite, right? Like, or asking questions because they couldn't understand me because I wasn't understandable.
Or recognize that was your interpretation of that, because you probably got it wrong some of the time, because there were probably some people in your life when you look back that really wanted to be there for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's look at what Anna's saying. So how much time we got? So Anna says, mine is not working to give the not wanting to give the physical, emotional communication that needs to be given by relationships. Got it. So you're self-aware of a part of what you're doing that may be making having healthy relationships difficult. But then that last piece, which says, then there's finances when they don't want to work. That's just another issue of fishing out the same bucket. You won't find me not working, right? You won't find one thing. I took 9 months off from work, and I've never been busier. Right?
You ain't lying, Anna.
That's a trait of the fish out of the bucket, out of the pond, right? When you start looking and because you change your frequency, when you work on yourself, where you fish will attract different fish, and you will find someone who wants to work, right? And I'm not going to tolerate it, and I'm probably not even going to. I'm at a glance, if somebody's just lazy bum not working, I'm probably not even going to entertain it. Not even my one night stand things am I going to do that. Like when I was doing that, I at least needed some kind of standard, So for me,
mine was breathing.
Wow. I've had days like that. I think my teenager days.
Right.
That's when I was a whore. That's when and I would go beyond that Monday because that sounds a little rapey. I'd be like, there was some consent. There was some consent there.
Yeah, right. Breathing with consent.
No. Oh God. Dude, you fucked up. You need to apologize immediately. You need to apologize. So I'm trying to put some distance between what you just said. So I do not.
All the people who are on here have known me since those days, so they already know.
This is live, and it's going to go to places and be heard by people who don't know you, Monte. I don't support that comment right there.
I mean, either love me or love to hate me. It's me. I'm here.
We don't want to get canceled. Shit. All right, listen.
Listen. What? Cancel what? Well.
Yeah, the three people we got in our corner right now.
Right.
We're not
the thousands of dollars
millions of listeners and followers here, but there could be one day.
Cancel the thousands of dollars we spent since this started, like tens of thousands of dollars that combined that we spent since this started, like from the beginning.
Yeah. Right. So listen. So to wrap this up, the number one thing that is missing,
cowbell. We need more cowbell.
That's a good analogy. But the thing that we need is more communication. Mm-hmm. And we need to recognize that there is some stuff that we're doing that may not be fulfilling the needs of the people. So this goes back to your assignment and my assignment. And you're gonna feel the heaviness of this one because it's men fear doing this, and so they avoid doing this. We're both going to go back to our people, to our partners, and say, what am I not doing to fulfill areas in your life that I could be? And can you help me figure out what I could do more of to do that? I'm going to tell you what your person and my person, they're going to look at you and be like, you're not ready to have that conversation. And I'm dead serious.
I know.
Because they hold it for us. And you're going to have to grip the chair, tie yourself to the chair, put that sex ball in your mouth, tie it to the back of your head, and sit there and listen to that. And then you're going to have to help make a plan on how to be more fulfilling. This is the only way we're going to develop the voice of the customer kind of thing, right?
You're way more familiar with that whole ball in the mouth thing than I am.
Well, I had to put it on you like 100 times. It was like really tough when you're squirming so much.
Oh shit!
So,
and this, my friends, is what you tune in weekly for.
Look, we're just two guys talking about what we think works and what's been working in our recovery. I mean,
right?
We're not wearing suits and ties here and trying to be like, we're what does support groups say? Like, share your experience. It may help someone else. Somebody is listening that's going to say, man, those guys nailed that point, but they got all the other ones fucked up. Somewhere in those weeds,
Why did they share so much?
Our disclaimer was at the top of this, like, hey,
we're not smart.
It's us. What do you expect?
We're not dumb, but we're not smart.
Much love to Anna and Amy, Julie.
And Amy, Julia, we love you guys.
And Jess, Linda, Kayla, StreamYard, I see there. We're just two guys doing the best we can, and we're still working on it. And we feel like being vulnerable and transparent is one way to let people see how we're working on it, and two, that we still got a long way to go, and three, we're not done, but we'll get there and we'll evolve as time goes on. And if this can help you, makes it all the better for us.
They all know how many times I've been dropped on my head, so
that would explain all the sinkholes in the earth. This random hole. I bet you if we measure them, they're the circumference.
I'm done with you, bro. I am done with you.
Love you, Amy.
Love and miss you, sweetie.
Authentic self. Put that out there. We got this.
Bang, bang.
I'm gonna go shiver in front of my girlfriend my fiance as I ask these questions today. One thing, you better ask those questions.
I got no choice. She's in there fucking prepping for the taco sales. Remember, guys? Hit me up, DM me. Hell yeah, Anna. I miss you, babe. I love you.
Fine. Just because
hit me up anytime afternoon. I'll be delivering taco plates. $12 for delivery. You want to come picking them up? 10. They're in there prepping everything now, so I got to get in there and help get these tacos done. Get my gloves on.
I'm gonna send you $12. I want my tacos.
Yeah. God damn it. That's Racine. If I got to deliver outside of Racine, there's a mileage charge.
You don't live in Racine.
And on top of the mileage charge, there's an asshole charge. So if you're Sammy, you got to pay extra.
You need to deduct in on that point. You're the asshole. $6, $2 extra for gas. So $8, I'll get my plate of tacos.
Right.
Aw. All right, brother. We'll talk soon, man. Much love, everybody.
Amy, I'll put you a plate up. You don't have to buy shit from me.
Hey, just show up at her house with the tacos.
She just said she's going to be working all day. I don't know where she's going to be.
Well,
right, I love you guys. We got to bounce. We got to get back to work. We will talk.
I got to go talk to Buckley, too. He's staring at me right now.
Right. We will see you next Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. Thank you guys for being here. Like, you guys are our core. No, you are my toolbox. You got to find me, fucker. I love you, Amy, with all my heart. I
believe that is Amy's authentic self right there.
That is Amy's authentic self. like there's been times where I've just stopped and
you can be multifaceted. You can be multifaceted in this world.
I just nod, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think in Amy's previous life, she was a hitman.
I don't know about previous life. It could be current. Like she's made comments.
She's gonna have to come back as a blade of grass until she gets it. I don't know.
Like the first time she called me and said, "You're gonna have to convince me not to kill somebody today, Monty." I was like, if that's my role in life, I accept it, and I will do my darndest. But I'm afraid of you.
Amy is Medea in like Amy's form.
Right.
You got to get the godders for the godders get you, because you can't be getting got by the godders, so you got to go get the godders. You better get the getting.
I pray in advance that nobody ever tests her resolve or the safety of her babies or any babies.
That is not his authentic self. Monte is not a badass. You should know this by now. He's not.
I'm a man of many facets.
You have a lot of facets, I'd say there.
Fuck you, Sammy. I love you guys. We will see you next week here and there. Oh, here and there moving. FA in the morning.
I've got to run, bro. So I can't stay for the 12 o'clock. I got to hit it, and you got to
All right.
tacos.
Hit me up later tonight. I'll be free tonight.
Sounds good. Peace
All right,
out, bro.
love, brother. All right, you guys. You know what it is. You know what it was. You know what it'd be like. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. Like, you guys have no idea. You make it worthwhile. So love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.